So let me tell you your current scenario. You looked at a lot of people on YouTube talking about 1 point perspective, 2 point perspective, 3 point perspective. And you're like, bro, you never talked about that in your perspective video. You may have never seen my perspective video, but that isn't really how perspective works. They're just simplifying shit for you. I'm gonna explain it to you in the fullest possible extent because I know that you can understand, unlike those people who think you can't. Let's start the video right here and right now. Boom. To just assume one single thing, brother, that you do know 1 point, 2 point, or 3 point perspective. Let me actually tell you the true nature of how it works. So, you know how there is this cube, right? Or just any shape in general. Let me just draw a random sphere here. It has a length, it has a height, and it has a breadth, right? So, we're going to actually draw a box around that sphere. This would be a box that could encompass it, right? Let me actually draw that box for you. Now this box is being drawn out here, and what you're going to notice is that three sets of parallel lines like this, and this, and this, and then this, or this, and this are going to be on the screen on every given moment. So we can see that there are like three lines that are parallel to each other at any given dimension. Like there are like three height dimension planes, and there are like three length dimension edges, and there are like three breadth dimension edges. It's all just the same. Now, what people are trying to represent with 3 point perspective is this. This as a whole, they give all the importance that is necessary to each vanishing point, and they draw it that way. So it's essentially drawing stuff the true way they are supposed to be. But if you are like, bro, then why do the other two things help? Well, convenience, duh. So you took a look at this cube, but now take a look at this one other cube. This also looks like a cube, doesn't it? Although less cubical, this is also still a cube. And there are like two parallel lines parallel to each other, and there are two other parallel lines that are parallel to each other. And there is like a triad of lines that actually are parallel to each other as well. Now, what are we gonna do to represent these things? We're just looking at it from the front, right? Like, think of looking at a Rubik's Cube up front your face. Let me show you something now. Right, now just take this one image and take a look at it. So when you are going to take a look at this part, and when you are going to take a look at this part, it's still all the same. And when you take a look at these lines over here at the bottom that are also like looking very straight, what do you think to yourself? You're like, bro, but didn't you say that there are like three vanishing points? Yes, but did I tell you where their positions were? No. So what do you do when you drew all of this like this, bro? You ask. Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. We're going to assume that we're looking at an object head on right now. Like, say, the house I showed you earlier, like this guy here. What happens next is we're going to look at all the others in an angled fashion. So you're going to see that this is a proper square at the very least. But this is not a proper cube. What are we saying right now? These two, this vanishing point here, we're saying that it's like it keeps going on forever and ever in these lines. You'll say they don't meet at a point, but can we say they also meet at infinity? Because infinity is a place where they keep going towards, right? That is one way of thinking about it. If you're a mathist nerd like me, but you can just think the point is there, but the things they will never reach that point. But it's still accurate because in photos like the one you saw earlier, the one I took, it is quite possible that that can happen. And just as in 1 point perspective, say I am looking down on a box like this. So I couldn't find a box and I ended up at my own picture. Let me show you something. Like, we are looking at this box, which is the house right over here, in a certain angle where it's twisted from left to right a little bit, right? We can see parts of the left, we can see parts of the right, but we don't see it skewed up to down. Why is that? Well, that is because in this one thing, we assume that these two guys, these two dimensions, they get a vanishing point that is essentially infinity, or they don't really meet at all. Or you can say they meet at a point where they never meet. That was this thing that we call one point perspective. And then you can say, like in the image of the house that we looked at, that two points are like perfectly fine, but the third one's psychotic, which means it does not meet anywhere. And when we extend this guy over here, it's like it meets at a point where it never meets. Yeah, pretty much. I know all of that sounded quite weird, but now I think at least you understood the true nature of perspective, and now I think you understand my point better. It's like there is only one form of perspective that is correct, but in the other two, you are assuming that, yeah, two vanishing points are like at an infinite position, and in another one, which we call 2 point perspective, you are assuming that one goes towards infinity. It is not up to me to decide whether it's right or wrong because I use them in my images. It's like when you're looking at an object straight up, facing it straight up, then this guy is your go to. Like these two, they look like they go towards infinity in that angle. And when you look at stuff in a slightly skewed manner, but you're not doing anything weird with your head, like looking down on them, looking up on them, then this is the way to go. And if you are doing all of those things, like you are looking at them, looking at that thing from a weird angle all the time, then you use 3 point perspective. And yup, that was the true nature of perspective revealed to you. Tan tan tan.